G'day, welcome back. So we've been a bit quiet lately. We've just been busy. That's about it. But it is a long weekend this weekend, so for Easter. So we're going to try and get at least a couple of videos out to you guys. Today we're going to show some love to the wild one. When we built it, it was one of the early cars in the collection that we built. So we just built it completely box standard with the standard silver can and a Futaba 2-channel radio and whatever servo I can find laying around. And it was supposed to be a shell queen because when it was finished it was really, really pretty. We did the body, we sprayed the inside of the polycarbonate with pearl clear first and then applied the black, and out in the sun it just looks really nice. Then we decided to drive it one day because that's what we do, and fell in love with it. It's our favourite running two-wheel drive car that we have, and it's actually the best handling two-wheel drive car that we have. So that meant we started running it a lot, and the ESC, it's the TBLU. It's one of the Tamiya ESCs. We'll find out what it is when we get into it. But that's starting to get a bit glitchy. So that's getting thrown out or back in the box. We're going to put a 1060 in it. The servo is actually stripping the teeth on the drive. So the Banggood special going in and the Dumbo radio instead of the Futaba. I think the radio's getting a little bit glitchy too. It's, the receiver for that radio, well, the radio is at least 4 years old or something. I don't know, the radio might be fine, but it's still the old stick Futaba type, which I used to prefer, but now that we're running the Dumbo pistol grips, kind of get more used to them than the old sticks. So, not mucking around. Let's bring it over to the bench and get into it. Righto, well, this isn't a wild one. I think the keen-eyed among you might have picked that up. Why we have the clodbuster out is we have two torque tune motors sitting in this car, and we want to take them out and put the standard silver cans back in there, because they actually did make a difference to the black edition clod. Made it just a little bit more responsive and quicker, because as most of you probably know, these torque tune motors are timed, but they're not timed at 0, so you've got one trying to fight against each other. We didn't really notice that much of it wasn't that much of a big deal really when running it, but now that we've seen a clod run with the standard motors and they're actually a little bit quicker, it made sense to take them out and put standard silver cans in. So tangent again, off topic, I'm taking the motor out of this because we're putting, thanks mate, we're putting the one of the torque tuned into the wild one, and we don't have any just laying around. So to be able to access one of these motors in a clod, it's really not that difficult. This motor comes in from this way in the diff, and the other motor comes from the other way. I'm only taking one motor out for now. So what I'm going to do, and this hasn't had a clean since its last run, so there's going to be mud going everywhere probably. So much mud, probably just dirt. So we need to take this side wheel off so we can get to the screws for the motor. Okay, so wheels off. Now, pretty sure we can drop this red stay and these 3 screws to hold the trailing arm on. We can drop that out of the way and we can get to our 2 screws from the motor, and it should be able to slide out the other side without having to take off the other trailing arm. Something else we have to do is obviously unplug the motor wires. Do that first before we forget. Now, just going to take these two screws out here. I found this easier when I had to change the motors in Zach's Black Edition. I just found it easier just to unscrew this red part from the trailing arm instead of trying to unclip that big ball end, because they're actually on there pretty tight. Just take these three screws out that hold the trailing arm onto that other ball end. That can be pulled out of the way. Now we can access our two motor screws. Once this motor goes into the wild one, the motor from the wild one is going to go back into this clod, which actually is quite simple because the motor for the wild one came with extended motor wires, and the clod needed extended motor wires. So we don't need to extend any wires, we don't have to resolder anything, shouldn't have to anyway. This should just go straight into the wild one and everything should fit. May have to extend the wild one motor wires for the clod, but we'll find that out when we get to it. So I'm just going to put all these screws in probably just up on the shelf here so I don't get them mixed up with anything. We'll just drop this wheel back on for now. Probably not going to show swapping the motors on the clod. As you just saw there, it's pretty simple to... Hey, that's stupid. No wonder it's not catching. There's no motor in there. I don't know if this wheel is actually on all the way. No, it's not. Okay, so we're just going to set this aside for now. Have that wheel back. That can go out of the way. And now the star of the show. So this motor's pretty dusty, so we're actually going to go outside and give it a good blowout before we fit it to the car. But so something else we're going to do is try and fix this bloody abortion. Nobody likes it with it's such a good looking car and you've got this dirty great battery wire hanging out the side. Nobody likes it. So we're going to work out a way to overcome that. We did find that front wheel, there's a bit of a buckle in it. The other wheel's fine. So not much we can do about that today. We're just going to have to order another set of rims. So let's get this body off and start mucking around with it. So you can see the standard old weak servo in there. Now to get this interior out, found it easier just to take this roll bar screw out the side, and then the body clips, there's 3 body clips I think, and we can manipulate that body out. We're also going to give everything a good clean, actually give it a wash. So just take this battery out. Brand new battery we can run in this thing too, so that'll be nice. It's only a 3600 instead of our usual 5000. And just had a thought too, because we're changing the ESC over to a 1060. This is the, I don't really read it, TEU 101BK. So that's coming out because, like I said, it's getting a bit glitchy, and we're running with the Hobby Wing, which has the smaller switch, and this one has the switch underneath the car where it should be. But thanks to our good mate Peter Edwards, we have the 3D printed switch adapters for the Hobby Wing switch, so I'm going to give that a go and hopefully they work. Right, now what I'm doing, I might actually take this roof panel off so we can give that a good wash too. So this is just a matter of taking all the electrics out and putting all new electrics in. probably not even worth making a video about it. We've got to do something for you guys. Oh, I see. Okay. These back ones have those plastic nuts. You know what? Second thought, I think I might just leave that roof on. It can get washed while it's on the car. So once all the electronics are out, we're going to take everything downstairs and give it a good blowout with the air compressor. Give it a quick bit of a wash. We're not going to show any of that, and then we'll come back and put everything back in. So, right, I'll rip the servo out. I just hope it's the spline on the servo that's worn out and not the spline in the servo drive for the servo saver itself. So now everything's obviously zip tied together. I don't know if you can see, but I must have done a repair in the past. The battery leads actually leggy tape together, so I must have had to solder them together at one stage. So that's kind of half dodgy. Got some zip ties there for this motor. I like to be pretty particular about, sometimes anyway, where zippy ties go. Apparently in this case I did it a little too well because I can barely get to it. You see, that was the stock motor that came with the wire one. Look how long those motor wires are. Pretty much exactly the same. These are a tiny bit longer. So that's going to work out just fine. So since, more zippy ties in there. Since all of the electronics are getting replaced, pretty much everything can get ripped out in one hit. Obviously going to keep this receiver. It might still be okay. It might just be the ESC that's a bit glitchy. And of course. Alright, so that roof has to come off. Alright, let me do that and we'll come back. Okay, so the roof is off. The reason why is because I zip tied the antenna wire up under the turret there to kind of hide it a bit. Give it a bit of a neater look. The antenna is supposed to, and I've lost that little washer from in there, haven't I? Yeah, it's rolling around somewhere. Alright, we'll find it. What was I saying? Yeah, the antenna aerial tube's supposed to stick up the back there, and the newer modern receiver wires just simply aren't long enough to reach where they need to go. Yes, I've definitely lost that little washer. So we're going to take our switch out. Switch is the only thing that's actually fastened to the car, well, screwed into the car. Everything else is just double-sided tape. Once the switch is free, it's got its little rubber booty on it, and hopefully that holds the screws in, which it seems to be doing. Now we can just screwdriver, just try and pry that speed controller up. Obviously use very good double-sided tape. Right, let me just try and find something a little bit better to get that out. Okay, so we managed to get the ESC loose. The radio, well the receiver anyway, is a Vitaba R202GF 2-channel, 2.4 gig obviously. So yeah, we're definitely holding on to that, but I think this speed controller is pretty well toast. It works fine when you first start it up. There you go, mate. And it just plays up. So we're going to take this motor out. These two screws are just the motor cover. If you haven't built a wire one before, or even a pass attack vehicle. Now we can get to the actual motor screws. There's our motor free. Now, what I'm actually going to do before I do anything else, you can just look back in the manuals, because we always keep our manuals, for your pinion depth. But I'm just going to measure it. That is 15.5 millimeters. I'll check that. So 15.5 for the wild one. I really got to tighten up these verniers. And a bit over 16 something for the clod. The clod, I'm just gonna probably just gonna use the plastic tool they give you. So that was 15.5. So we're just gonna set the verniers at 15.5. So the rest of the clod bits. So this wild one, oh, that was very loose. Very, very loose. So I'm actually going to put some thread lock on this pinion prop screw, because that had no resistance at all when I tried to undo it. A bit of liquid thread lock, not liquid, gel thread lock. And just lightly do the grub screw so you can still move it. That's our setting that we had. With a good crank up. Double check. Beautiful. This motor can go straight in. Then we can take it all downstairs, give it a good clean, and we'll come back to the bench where you guys are going to be sitting and waiting for us. Now this is silly. What some of this thread lock off. That's not what's silly, but if you want to see the sticker of the motor, you have to have it up this way, which means the bloody sticker's upside down. Oh. So we just have a look through the window, make sure. I mean, there's only one mesh you can get because these holes are set, they're not adjustable. The motor is very quiet. We can put our cover back on. See, this is also the beauty of building your own cars as opposed to buying ready to run cars. Since you've already built it, you're familiar with all the parts and how they go together. Just makes things a lot easier when it comes to maintenance and having to fix stuff. So I'm actually going to take these switch screws out, because guaranteed we're going to lose them when we go downstairs. There's our switch screws. So now I have to find, maybe I didn't have one. I don't know, there's usually a little plastic washer that goes into that servo saver. Can't see it on the bench anywhere. That we may have to go into the manual, see if there actually was one. Right, we're not going to show you that though. We're going to go and give this a bath, bring it back, put it back together, all nice and shiny and pretty, and that'll be it for this video. Alright, we're back from the cleaners. Everything turned out not too bad. We just blew down the chassis. All the body panels got a bit of a wash in soapy water. So, radio gear, I'm going to start with the servo. I've already centered that. Now, these servos are a little bit taller in the top than the one that came out. Where is the one that came out? A bunch of wires somewhere. There it is. It's actually very close. Maybe a tiny bit in it. So this won't be a problem fitting into the car. Some of the cars, they just don't like to fit in. So I think I'm just going to screw that in place first before I put the servo saver on. Now I did actually lose that white washer out of the servo saver. It fell out of the car and went somewhere. I went through me one of our past bins and found it's not quite the correct one, but it'll do the job. Our servo in. Now we just have to try and line these wheels up centre as best as we can. And always use the trim later. We'll run with that, see what happens. 3x10 machine screw, and that's the little washer I found. I don't know where it came from, but we said it should do the trick. Because it's a metal out drive, we can actually put some decent torque onto that. Right, that's servo in. Radio gear is going to go in completely different to how it was before, so I'm going to need some double-sided tape. Just collect all of the double-sided tape that's left over from all the kits, and you end up with a lot of it. Comes in really handy for like when you're doing speed runs for your what do you call it, your GPS thing. You've got to stick to the car. You just take this little bucket of double-sided tape along with you, and you're good to go. Now the receiver's going to sit down on here where the mount goes for the original mechanical speed controller. I actually had the mount in there originally, just as a post so that I could zip tie wires up and out of the way. Before I stick this in, I'm actually going to plug everything in. So 1 for turn, 2 for burn, as they say. And the outer pin is the negative, so darker wire to the outside. Sit aside. Now this is where it gets a bit fiddly for me. Not a lot of room in this car, so there's just going to be wires flopping around everywhere. You probably can't see what I'm doing very well. So the receiver just kind of sit there. It has to sit that way because the bind button is on that side of the receiver, on the aerial wire side. And because we use multiple receivers with pretty much 2 transmitters, pretty much every time we swap cars we've got to rebind the radio system. Sometimes we don't. It's a bit weird. Not exactly sure how that works. So speed controller is going to sit pretty much there, nice and close to that switch mount, because like I said, we're going to use these 3D printed, or one of these 3D printed switch mounts. Now, unfortunately, you're not going to be able to see this, or you might. Now that everything's plugged in, I can't really get you any closer. The holes in these small switches should line up with the holes in the switch mount. They're just a tiny bit off, just enough so that you kind of can't get a screw into it. So with this one, I just shaved down the legs of this mount, and I went in and pre-drilled and tapped out with a M2 tap, just to make things a little bit easier for me. Here we are going to mount our switch onto our lovely 3D printed switch mount. These tiny little screws. Now these switch mounts are going to come in so handy for a lot of cars. I was mucking around with the Brat this morning actually, and where I like to run the ESCs on the ORB chassis, except for the frog, can't do it with that one, not enough room. I just sit them on the top of the chassis where the driver goes for the frog, and then the wires were too short to utilise one of those switch adapters for where the switch goes on the throttle. Now these 1060 switches already have a little rubber booty on it, so I'm not going to put the original Tamiya one back in. So that mount is on the switch. So I think I'm just going to feed these motor wires through and just double check that we've got enough length. They're going to sit. Oh, try and tuck that in nice and neat there. And I'm mostly going to get covered with the interior when it goes in anyway. So, you can't see what I'm doing, I'm just looking. Yeah, we've got plenty of length there. And I'll come up with an idea for that battery wire. It's going to have its downside, but it's going to make the car look a lot better when it's running around. So let's get this ESC stuck down. And then we can play around mounting that switch. That might be a bit fiddly. I did think about covering that hole up completely, but there's a hole in the middle of the chassis there. But, yeah, right. There's going to be dirt getting in there anyway, so who cares? Right, switch. Stuff going everywhere. Now, are these screws going to be in the way? No, they should be fine. I have some screws here ready to go. So they're long enough, otherwise I can use the longer screws that came out of the original switch. Now I'm just going to feed one through. And, yeah, these are going to be heaps long enough. Just get that started on. Like I said, I tap these holes in the plastic. Makes things a lot easier, especially in fiddly areas like this, because you know the thread's just going to start right away. My fingers are really starting to struggle with these small screws and fasteners. Joys are getting older. Now, one thing I really need to do is magnetize. Magnify, that makes things bigger, doesn't it? Magnetize these screwdrivers for just these occasions, and for exactly that reason. They are slightly magnetic, but just not enough. So we're going to have to find an old hard drive that doesn't work. I'm pretty sure Zach's got 1 or 10 laying around. I might rip it apart and get the magnet out of it, because they're pretty strong. And then we can have a go at magnetising our screwdrivers. Magnetifying. I don't know, I'm just making words up. So, this switch is a little bit tricky to get into, but I can get to it eventually. If you've got smaller fingers, you won't have a problem. So, hook up our motor. Let's just, now that everything's stuck in there and screwed in, let's actually try the interior, and so that we can find out that nothing fits. So we have to redo it all again. Just going to shove that in there loose for now. We'll tie it all up in a minute. That interior, thanks mate. Now the interior, look at this guy's, can you see this guy's eyes? Poor guy. He makes Marty Feldman look normal. Seems like everything's going to fit. I mean, it should. Now, this battery, like I said, the good thing about it is it's going to be hidden. Bad thing about it, to change the battery or even to plug it in and unplug it, I reckon you're going to have to take the interior out every time. Depends what mood you're in. It's not that much of a deal. So, my idea is to run the battery wires through this gap in the chassis here and pretty much just snake them around the battery. Don't even know how much charge this battery has in it. So you do actually charge this battery to run the car, we're going to have to redo all this again. But that's the cost of having the car look a little bit better driving around the track. So where did I just put that? There we go. Okay, so you can see that motor wire just snake around there nice and neatly. And it just pokes out just in front of the cockpit there. So I'm going to plug it in so that we can actually test everything. And I really need to swap over to Dean's plug for everything. Tamiya plugs sometimes just do not want to work. There we go. Right, can I have a transmitter? Everything's plugged in. Turn that on. We'll get our driver, and just these ones, all you've got to do is find the button first.
Isn't it bound already?
Hey, look at that. See what I mean? Sometimes they bind straight up, sometimes they don't. Right, so... Ooh. That doesn't sound very good. Doesn't sound very good at all. Why does that not sound good? It's a little tight. And a little crunchy. I wonder if it's because the trailing arms are fully extended, so the dog bones are... It's a vibration issue. That's what it sounds like. But anyway, so we have steering. Obviously we'll trim it up properly. Nice quick server. Quick enough for this car, isn't it? Okay, so everything works and everything's fine and dandy. So let's shut it all down. We'll run it as it is. If we have any issues with that rear end sounding like it is, we'll just come back and pull the diff apart and have a look and see if we can find a problem somewhere. So this, I'll unplug this. This receiver wire. Not much I can do with these. I just got to try and tuck down there somewhere. My box of zip ties. So we'll just bundle these up. They don't really have to be neat. You won't see them anyway. They just need to be kept out of the way. Trim that tail off. Some zip ties on the back here again. It gets a bit fiddly. Now this aerial wire, I'm probably just going to do the same thing I did last time. Just run it up this roll bar. Bring it in and have the what do you call it? The bit with the thing. Because once you do it up, you end up with that little bit of a gap. And the gap's just the right size for that wire to sit in there and not actually be getting crushed by the zip tie. Not that it'd get crushed all that much, but you know. Under that roll bar, if we can. I think that'll be fine where it is. That should do us there. It's all in, looking nice and neat. Our interior. Go in. Like I said, we're going to have to do all this again when we go to run the car because we've got to get to the battery. Now a couple of clips. There's 2 rear ones. One in the front. I might put this roof back on. I actually found a couple of plastic spotlights. They're pretty well solid. I think they might have been HPI. I was thinking about putting them on the front. Up here, so we've got 4 spotlights. I don't know. Because that means I've got to drop the shocks and the steering arms to get them out of the way so I can get a screw up underneath. I'll have a think about that while we put this body together. Thanks, mate. I might screw the front down first. The roof came up clean, obviously, because it was washed, but it's still not very pretty because I said this is a runner, one of our favourite runners, and unfortunately it does get rolled over sometimes. So there's quite a few scratches over the roof, but that's okay. If I had another wild one, then that could probably be the shelf one. See, we don't have a blockhead edition wild one yet. That could be something to think about. I'm actually going to grab that nut with a pair of pliers. Probably should replace it with a proper metal nut. This doesn't really have to come off again unless we're going to do this sort of thing down the track. The plastic nuts will do fine for now. Body shell, looking good. Railage. So Grant. Body pin. Now, you saw me unplug the battery, but you know the battery wire is in there ready to plug in. And no ridiculous looking battery wire sticking through the window of the car. So I'm happy that worked out. Not so happy that you've got to take half the car apart to get the battery out, but hey, that's the price you pay for looking cool, isn't it? So I'm going to set this up for a cheap trick shot, and we are going to snap our fingers. And there you have it. So it really does look a lot better with those Nova Fox rims on it, gold rims, nice and cleaned up. Shame about the scratches. We did end up putting the spotties on the front. I don't know. What do you guys think? I reckon it looks alright. So there you go. Now that noise we were hearing in the back, I'm pretty sure it's a motor bearing. These torque tunes don't actually have ball bearings in them. They just have bushings. And after being in the clodbuster, the clods did get run. Well, they do get run, I'm not going to say hard, but it is a big car. So I'm guessing one of the bearings have gone in the motor, which is a bit of a shame, but we're going to run it as it is and see if we have any dramas with it. One thing I did forget to do is put that screw in for this roll bar, but I'll go back and do that in a minute. So there you go. That's the probably a not so quick maintenance and upgrade video on our wild one. Now she's all nice and clean and beautiful again. It's ready to go out and get dirty. I don't think I'm going to run it with the gold wheels. I just wanted to put them on to have a look, and it really does look really nice. I might have to buy another set of gold rims. We actually found a set of gold anodized aluminium rims to suit the Nova Fox and the Wild one. To get them here, it's about $100. So I don't know if that's worth it or not, but we'll see how we go later on. So there you go. Hope you enjoyed that. Thanks for watching. Thanks for your support. And see you on the next video.